Some people, when they have stardom very young, right, they're like, I'm over that name, I'm over that title. Are you still cool with people saying, you're Noah Ritter, the apparently kid, or does it drive you nuts?
Definitely, because I got to be thankful for it, because that's the entire reason why I'm here right now doing this podcast, is because I kind of embraced it a little bit.
Hey, friends. It's the Ryan Leckey Show. Welcome to the Ryan Leckey Show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Ryan Leckey Show. Did you listen to today's show open? We gave you a little teaser there, a little sneak peek of today's guest who made national headlines many years ago, and people have not forgotten his voice, his name, or the face. The one and only with us today, the apparently kid, Noah Ritter, hanging out with us on the podcast couch. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan.
You're doing great? Listen, it has been about 7 or 8 years since I have seen you and Grandpa Jack, who's also going to be joining us later on the podcast. But you are known all over America as what?
The apparently kid.
All right, so let's dive into this. I mean, how has life been going? Because we're going to kind of back into your story. How old are you now?
I'm 14 now.
14 years old. And tell me the moment, the event that changed your life and how old you were. For people who are unfamiliar with the story of the apparently kid, give it to us.
So, me, my grandma, and my grandpa, we decided to go to the Wayne County Fair because we'd usually gone every year. And one day, as we're getting off the teacups, my grandpa saw a news anchor. I forget what her name was, but she worked for Channel 16.
Sophia Ojeda from WNEP.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So we saw her, and my grandpa decided, or I decided to go over and talk because she was interviewing kids. So I went over and I just did what I did because I can talk people's ears off all day. I went over there, I grabbed the mic, I started blabbering about whatever I was blabbering about, and it was great. And then it led to you showing up at 4 a.m. to interview me.
Yeah, literally, I have to say, though, you did the interview with Sophia at the Wayne County Fair. You stole her microphone, and we have the sound that went viral. This is it. What goes through your head when you hear that? Because how old were you when you stole the mic from Sophia, the WNEP reporter at the time?
I was 5 or 6 at the time, and whenever I hear that video now, I look back on it, it's like a pretty funny, pretty random memory.
And I think what's so impressive about that, you grabbed the mic from her. They heard the story in the news, right? People thought it was cool, right? And then I remember being at WNEP at the time, and a bunch of us were talking. We're like, we should put this guy on YouTube, right? That's the time like YouTube was really starting to be so popular, especially for news outlets, right? Share content there. You literally went viral. I think it was overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Like it ended up being like more than millions of hits, right? What was that like for you? And walk me through that. At the time when you're 5 or 6, did you know what was going on? Like it was insane.
I think I knew I was going on like a little bit because I remember my grandma and my grandpa calling me into the living room later that night, and I got to see myself on TV. I thought that was hilarious, and then I think my grandpa showed it to me on YouTube like an hour later, and it had like over like 1 million views.
And it literally just kept snowballing.
It just kept going and going.
So here you are, 5 or 6 years old. Your life basically almost starts to change overnight. Right? I remember talking to your grandfather, Jack, because then we did a follow-up story with you guys when I worked at WNEP, talking to you about, look at this overnight sensation, right? This guy goes viral, this awesome kid who was interviewed at the Wayne County Fair. But then all of a sudden, the calls started coming in. It was all these different outlets. And I remember your grandfather saying, like, the Ellen Show might call. And we're going to kind of have him, Grandpa Jack, address kind of like how this all took off. But tell me from that interview, some of the amazing cool stuff you got to do. Because the biggest thing people remember you from was the Ellen Show. Describe that. I mean, you're 5 or 6. Can you remember some of those moments?
I remember mostly a lot of them. I remember that was my first time ever being on a plane, and my first time ever leaving the state. Mm-hmm. More than like going to like New Jersey or New York or like North Carolina, like going like cross country. I remember that. And I remember seeing all of, like, the billboards and all, like, the palm trees in Hollywood and everything else, all the movies. I remember seeing, like, a ton of stuff. And I remember being right next to Universal Studios at the Hilton Hotel, and it was probably the greatest thing I've ever experienced.
Did you realize, Noah, at the time when you were around 5 or 6, how big of a deal it was for you to be brought to the Ellen Show and be in this huge national spotlight?
Kinda. I kind of realized it because I realized it when I seen the amount of people in the audience, because Ellen always had like a live audience with her, and they were always cheering whenever I'd walk up on stage. And I think I realized it more then than I did when I first saw the video clip on YouTube.
And we're going to come back a little bit more how your life and sort of your career, right, evolved after appearing on the Ellen Show. But when we think back, when you actually got your first interview with Ellen, were you nervous? I mean, you were 5 or 6, or you're like, this is totally cool, I got it.
I was a little nervous, but I didn't really have, I kind of had nerves of steel when I was a little kid. Because I could go up and talk to anyone and just talk to them for like 25, 30 minutes on end about whatever I thought of in my head after the last sentence.
And where does that come from? The strength or just the fearlessness to just do your thing and not worry about what people care about?
I don't know where it came from. It just popped into me one day.
And you just did it. Just rolled with it. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's unpack this a bit. You go to the Ellen Show because the reason they initially brought you there, you went viral on YouTube, right? And everybody's buzzing about the apparently kid. And, of course, this sound effect that you can't get out of your head after you hear it. So she brings you to the show to initially talk to you about it. But then all of a sudden, it seems like you guys click. She thinks you're awesome, probably adorable as a kid at the time, right? Because you're 5 or 6. And she's like, this guy's a riot. You almost get hired then to do gigs on the Ellen Show. Talk to me about like kind of the job you got out of that first interview.
I was there every like 2 months. I'd show up and I'd talk for a little bit of my life. I even got to host my own like little side show where I got to interview Bill Clinton, Sofia Vergara, and Jim Carrey. And those are probably the best things I've ever done.
How cool was that for you at 5 or 6?
It was awesome because I got to talk to a president, I got to talk to a famous actress, and I got to like one of the funniest comedians.
Now, were these gigs, were you paid to be on the Ellen Show, or they just took care of all your expenses?
I was paid. Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you have an agent at the time, or like how did you negotiate all this stuff?
Yeah, Grandpa Jack, he was my agent.
Grandpa Jack was your agent, and don't forget, Grandpa Jack, who went with you to all these appearances, and he appeared on the Ellen Show when you were there. We're going to talk to him in a moment. But describe for me, I mean, when you look back, what happened to your life, I guess, even after you left the Ellen Show after your first appearance? Were you this rock star in school? Would this have been like, I don't know, elementary, middle school? Like, what happened to you after you appeared on the Ellen Show?
I was in elementary school. A lot of the kids loved it. The teachers, they hated it because I was missing class for maybe like a month or a week at a time. And I'd always have they'd always be handing me like folders of work the day after I got back.
How were your grades when all this was going on?
They're pretty good. I could say I was a decently star student.
Okay. And you go to school just outside of where? Pottstown, Philadelphia area?
Yeah, Pottsgrove.
Okay, got it. So describe for me, though, you got to start missing school. When did things really pick up with Ellen? So you're on the show, you start doing a couple gigs, she gives you this side job, right? But then didn't things evolve from that and you ended up being on a TV show called The Toy Box?
Yeah, I think that was in like 2015 or 2016. They came out with this new show called The Toy Box, and they wanted me to be on it with a bunch of other kids. So I thought I might try out for that. I did the auditions, and then it went to the first season in New York, and it was awesome.
And what was the premise of the show, The Toy Box, you were on?
The Toy Box, it was like Shark Tank, but what they would do, it was with toys. So different toy inventors from around the United States, they would come on and they would like show off the toy, and then the judges, they would like play with it and see how it goes, and then they would vote for it for them to like advance further on in the show. And then whoever won the show got their toys sold in like Toys R Us's.
And how cool was that experience? Was that, I mean, I feel like you were so natural in front of the camera, but was that a little different element for you, kind of giving feedback on toys and having to kind of shoot stuff down that didn't fly?
Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I just basically got to sit in fancy clothes and play with toys all day, and then I got to talk trash about people's ideas.
I love it. I think what's so amazing is just how mature it seems. I mean, it seems like you had to grow up really quick even after your appearance on the Ellen Show, right? Because then all of a sudden you're working on the toy box. Tell me about that. Did you ever have any coaching or lessons or guidance from pros in the industry that they're like, Noah, this is how you approach it?
No, I didn't. Everything was just off the top of my head or whatever I thought of the day before. It just all came off natural.
You just did your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Take me back when we talked about you maybe missing school here and there to appear on all these shows, right? And the kids thought it was the coolest. When you were walking through the halls or even being at family outings, or maybe you're big into football, right? Where people like, Noah, can I get a picture with you?
Almost every day. I remember whenever me and Grandpa would go to the movies, we'd always get spotted by somebody.
What was that like? What did that feel like? And what would people say to you?
It was awesome. Like, they'd see me from, like, across the street or something like that. Or they'd see me at, like, the fair or, like, in the movie lobby, and they'd be like, oh, my God, you're the Apparently Kid. Can I get a picture with you? You're so cool. And they still recognize me, like, to this day.
And how does that feel now? Because some people, when they have stardom very young, right, they're like, I'm over that name, I'm over that title. Are you still cool with people saying, you're Noah Ritter, the Apparently Kid, or does it drive you nuts?
Definitely, because I got to be thankful for it, because that's the entire reason why I'm here right now doing this podcast, is because I kind of embraced it a little bit.
How long did you work for the Ellen Show? And at what point did they kind of cut ties with you? Was it when she was getting ready to end the whole show? Or tell me about that. Like, how long were you with her? And then when did things kind of take a pause?
I was with her for maybe a good, like, 5-8 years, something like that. And then right when she was about to end the show, that's when they stopped, like, calling and asking if I could come out.
Describe your interactions when you were at the show with Ellen. Did you get to work with her a lot, or you kind of just went on the set, did your bit, and go, or did you guys talk backstage?
Yeah, we talked backstage sometimes. It was really great. I loved all the stage hands and all the people in the back. They were all awesome.
And what was it like? I mean, working with Ellen then, if she came backstage and talked to you, tell me about those conversations.
Oh, she was great. She was amazing. She was the nicest woman on earth.
What would you guys talk about when you were backstage? Just the sort of what you were gonna do, or what would she catch up on with you? I mean, you were 5 or 6, so like she probably had to say like, "Hey, what are you up to?"
Just whatever was going on in my life, whatever I just thought of off the top of my head, we talk about.
And I thought what was so cool, Grandpa Jack, who we're gonna chat with soon, was always with you on those shows. And what's your plans after high school, or are you thinking college, or what do you want to do after you graduate? You know, when all is said and done, after you're a senior in high school, what are you thinking about long term?
I think I might become a YouTuber.
A YouTuber, and we should tell everybody too. By the way, you have your own YouTube channel
At the Apparently Kid at YouTube.com.
At the Apparently Kid. And what do you do on your YouTube channel if people haven't seen it?
I just do whatever I do whatever I wanted to post that day. Whenever me and Grandpa we go see a movie, I'll make a 2 or 3 minute movie review about it. Me and Grandpa both give our ratings. We'll talk about it. We'll say what we enjoyed. It was great.
And talk to me as we move ahead, right? And you look at other maybe gigs down the road in entertainment you want to do. I also know, didn't you do like a pet commercial? It was like Fresh Pet. What did you do for Fresh Pet? That was back in the day.
Oh man, I get to play with dogs and talk about like the pet food and stuff like that. And I just got to like sit there and just play with the dogs while they ate the pet food, and it was awesome.
So I have to ask as well, and you can disclose as much as you want. So you obviously made money out of these gigs. Did you save it? Did you blow it? What'd you do with it?
I saved it all, but I wasn't really my choice.
That's good though, right? Who's the one that told you to save all the dough? Your mom or Grandpa Jack?
Mom.
She said save the money,
sure.
Which is really great that you did that. Tell me, I guess, is there anything that stuck out for you during your visits to Ellen or some of these other shows like the Toy Box or shooting for a Fresh Pet that was such a great memory that we didn't see ever on camera? What's something that's very memorable to you in the entertainment business that you experienced?
Just all the people backstage, everyone, they'd always come up and talk to me, see how I was doing, give me a high five, and I'd talk to them until we'd start shooting, and then I'd go back. If they had to do a reshoot, I was perfectly fine. Go back to talking to them. It was great. Everyone behind the scenes was awesome. All the camera guys, all the mic people, that was great.
And I think obviously back to some of those shoots you did with some pretty big production crews, right? When you went to do something with dinosaurs on the Ellen Show and the behind the scenes and all of that. How long would some of those shoots take when you did the Ellen Show and they would send you on little adventures and film you? Because I know Grandpa Jack was sometimes a part of those as well.
Yeah, it would mostly take up like half the day, and then we'd have to and then me and Grandpa Jack, we would just go back to our hotel and wait for the next day. and see if we had anything to do that day.
You were always close to your grandpa, Jack, and he was always in the audience at the Ellen Show, and he's the one that took you around everywhere. I remember back in the day when I first met you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember when this started to blow up and you're getting all this attention, and Grandpa Jack was like in your corner with this. I think your mom said, if this goes somewhere and he has to go to Hollywood and everywhere else, your mom was like, I still have to work, so Grandpa Jack, you got to handle this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did. How did that improve the relationship you have with your grandfather? All of this travel, all the entertainment gigs you did, what did that mean to you?
Well, we've always been buddy. We've always been super close. I'd spend almost every weekend up at his house because my mom couldn't watch me because she had to work on weekends. So I was there every weekend. I was here for like the entire summer, just hanging out with him, doing whatever.
Hanging out in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania with Grandpa Jack, right?
Yep, going to the movies.
Yeah, you guys are big movie fans, and I know sometimes you do that on your YouTube channel. But I guess how important and how memorable are those moments with Grandpa Jack over the years?
Oh, they're great. I'm going to cherish them for the rest of my life.
Really special. And I think without further ado, we got to talk to Grandpa Jack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been buzzing a lot about Grandpa Jack. He's on the couch with us now. How's it going?
Good.
It's so funny because I met you probably, 8-10 years ago.
Right.
And I think not only myself, but I think everybody in America got to know you as Grandpa Jack.
Right.
Describe, what was that like for you? So we got to back up a little bit, right? Because we talked to Noah about how sort of the interview at the Wayne County Fair goes on the news, it goes on YouTube, goes viral. Let's go back a little bit. When this first all happened and he got interviewed by the news, and then it was on YouTube and went viral. Take me through what was going through your head, the discussions you had with your family. I mean, were you blown away at how fast this all happened?
Yeah, I was because it happened over the weekend. It blew up over the weekend, and I was on my way to work Monday morning, and my phone started ringing. And by the time I got to work, I had about 10 phone calls. Everybody trying to get a hold of me, and I want to know where Noah is and how we could get in touch with him. And I think Channel 16. They called, and then next thing you know, Good Morning America was calling, and Diane Sawyer was with ABC News then. She called, and she would, everybody's looking for Noah. So, yeah,
we have to take a beat. So your phone rings, and it's Diane Sawyer on the other line, right?
Right.
Tell me, what did Diane Sawyer say to you when she called you? Tell me about that conversation.
It's been a while now, but she just wanted to know, about Noah, and if they said we'd send a limo this afternoon down, pick you up, and he could bring you to New York, and you'd be on the ABC show tonight. I said, I can't do that, not tonight, and I was at work, so I had to tell my boss. I said, I got to go home for the day, So I had to go home because
Did you say to your boss, I have to go home because Diane Sawyer's calling me?
Yeah. I told him, everybody's calling. I said, it was unbelievable. Steve Harvey, Ellen, they all started, And so I went home and told my wife about it, and Noah, and I says, they want to come, and so I says...
You're basically trying to tell the family this is blowing up. The
Right.
interview that Noah did at 5 or 6 years old, Noah Ritter, all of a sudden he's becoming the apparently kid without you guys even knowing it.
Right. Because it happened over the weekend. I really didn't even know it was blowing up that until Monday morning. In fact, I think it was someone called my sister. Or no, I think it was on the air. She was watching the news, Channel 16 news in the morning, and they wanted to know my phone number and if anybody knew us. So my sister Natalie, she called the station and gave her my phone number.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And then I think actually it was shortly after that because, when I worked at WNEP at the time, they wanted to get the interview because as you pointed out, this sort of went viral over the weekend, right? You did the interview, goes on YouTube over the weekend, right? And then it starts gaining so much momentum. And then I remember coming down to do an interview.
You came down Monday afternoon, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, we were in your kitchen having a conversation, and the phones kept ringing. And then I think we talked, and you asked me, there's all these shows to do. If there's one show we should do, what is it? And do you remember what we talked about? And I said, it's Ellen.
That's Ellen, yeah.
Because at the time, the ratings were insane for the Ellen
Right.
show, and that was the show to get on.
Yeah, so that's really why I think we did go with Ellen, But yeah, it was.
Let's talk about then the Ellen Show, Grandpa Jack. So like when they eventually call you to go out, are you thinking like we'll do one appearance and call it a day? How did this all unfold to what it was?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was like going to be a one appearance. And in the meantime, this Nick Reed, he's a producer, and well, in fact, he won a Oscar for a movie that it did.
Okay.
I forget, but anyway, he got a hold of us and me, and he wanted to do a commercial. Have Noah do a commercial, so so I planned it. Well, we go out to see Ellen that one visit, and we'll do the commercial. But then we got out to Ellen, it was like she had other plans. She had wanted to sign him for 2 years, and you know, she wanted all control. But I said we already had this deal made with the commercial, so she said that was okay, you know. So we did make a commercial there over there.
Right. They kind of wanted, the Ellen Show wanted Noah Ritter, the apparently kid,
Right.
as the exclusive, right?
Right.
How did that feel, by the way, Noah?
Oh,
when
it
they're
was
like,
awesome. It was great.
So, Grandpa Jack, though, here's the interesting thing, right? So you're a guy, you're working and living in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You don't have a showbiz background, right, in the
right.
entertainment industry. So what goes through your head, or how do you start negotiating these deals to make sure that Noah, your grandson, is being compensated for the work? Like, how did you navigate this?
Well, you know,
Because you just said Ellen wanted to sign you for a 2-year deal
Yeah.
exclusive.
yeah, what's it called? Well, I did go to college for a few years, and I have a business background and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I was a construction worker by trade, built bridges, but I had an education, and I knew a little bit about business. And I figured, well, I'll do what I can, and then I'll, get some help, And like I said, this Nick Reed, he helped me a lot once I got to know him,
So this is somebody who helped you because, I mean, look, you're a very bright guy. I've even worked in the entertainment biz for a bit. I still, if the Ellen Show was like, yo, we want to sign you for a 2-year gig, I wouldn't even know how to price that out, right?
Yeah.
So did you have, like, you never got, like, an attorney, an agent?
No, we never did, which might have been a mistake. I don't know, but she treated him fairly, and so But there was a few things he could have done a lot more, but he had to get her okay with
Right.
everything, which hampered him a little bit. He had a lot more deals coming through, but you sign a contract, so.
Describe your interactions when you were at a big show like the Ellen Show. Like, what was your role there as Grandpa Jack? Because when Noah went, obviously he had these side gigs. He's interviewing President Clinton, all these other people. What did you do when you went to the show? Were you kind of like, not only his handler, but you're kind of looking out for him to make sure,
Right.
like, yo, my grandkid's okay?
Oh yeah, that's what I did. I was, I was always with him. I was always backstage or in the audience, or even when he interviewed President Clinton and Sophie Vergara and stuff. I was right there with him, and right on the sidelines. So.
You got to meet a lot of these cool people,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and we'd be in our own dressing room, and a lot of the guests would come in and say, "Oh, can we get a picture of you and Noah and stuff?" And a lot of them I didn't. I mean, Jennifer Garner, she come in, and she was.
Pitbull too.
Pitbull?
Yeah, and his dancers, they all come in.
Well, be honest. Did you know all these people? Or are you like, who's
No,
this?
so like I said, Jennifer Aniston, I didn't even know who she was. She was saying.
Wait. Hold on, Grandpa Jack. You said Jennifer Aniston walks into the dressing room,
Or
right?
Jennifer Garner, rather.
Jennifer Garner walks
Right.
into the dressing room. Noah's in there. You're in there, and you're like, who's this lady?
Yeah. She says, "Can I get Noah's picture?" She says, "My husband just left him. He was with Ben Affleck then." And she says, he thinks he's funny, and stuff. So I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And after she leaves, I'm trying to figure out who she was. And I asked somebody to say, "Oh, that's Jennifer Garner,
When you look back at this amazing journey that you two have had together, how has this strengthened the relationship you have with your grandson?
Oh, he's my best buddy. Yeah, he's not my grandson. He's my best buddy.
Yeah, and you've said that, I think, since day one, since I met you. Gosh, 8+ years ago. It hasn't changed. And tell me about these memories and these moments. Was there anything that happened behind the scenes, obviously besides the Jennifer Garner moment, with you and Noah where you're like, man, this is incredible,
Oh,
that people didn't see?
There was a lot of times, Even when he did the toy box, we went out to Mattel, their factory, and what a place that was, And they have like all the toys since when I was a kid, like, that they made. They still have them there and stuff. It was pretty neat. There was a lot of stuff that we get to see,
I guess where you are now and stuff, and you have some goals to get back in there. Is there anything you ever see going on, I guess, on social media or television? You're like, man, Noah would be good for this. And you're like, man, maybe he should try this.
Once in a while, yeah, I mention it to him when I see it, and, but because he likes being on YouTube and stuff like that. So he always enjoyed himself. Because I always told him, I said, hey, if you don't want to do this anymore, we'll stop. It was, I said, whenever you want to quit, we'll call it quits,
What happened, Jack, when he's 5 or 6, and all of a sudden this goes viral, right? And as your daughter said, look, she told you, Dad, I got to work and stuff. You can handle this.
You got to handle it. Yeah, she told me, yeah.
But
and I was right on the verge of retiring. So I retired a little early just for this, and that was the best thing I ever did.
I bet you would agree with that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was always in your corner.
Yeah.
I guess describe, though, when this did go viral and everything, what was it like with your friends, your neighbors? Were people calling you nonstop, especially after you were on the Ellen Show? Because when Noah was on the Ellen Show, they'd always say, hey, Grandpa Jack's
Right.
here, because Noah was always so good. Even I think you were 5 or 6. I remember seeing the clips on the Ellen Show, and you would almost cut Ellen off and be like, hold on, Grandpa Jack's over there. Say hi to him.
Yeah, that's how I got the name Grandpa Jack. They're the ones that at least started calling me that.
Yeah. But I mean, what happened for your personal life when all this started blowing up? Because it seems like you said you couldn't go anywhere without people like, there's Noah.
Yeah, I know. Everywhere you go, they noticed you, And even if they didn't see you, they knew his voice. We could be in a store and somebody in the next aisle, they hear his voice and they'd come check it out, Because he had a voice you couldn't forget.
Yeah, I think we have another clip of that if you missed it earlier. I feel like, do you want to make that your ringtone or not? On your cell phone?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, just let it loop.
Yeah.
Let it loop.
Yeah.
So I guess moving on, by the way, so we talked about, the Ellen Show was a really big gig. Were you, I guess when things kind of slowed down with her show and she was going to retire off the Ellen Show and everything, for you guys, was that tough? Because then you're like, man, this was a really good gig for Noah? Or did you feel like you did as much as you could?
I think I think he did as much, with her. And like I said, in fact, his contract was over after the second year, and we started doing the toy box. Mm-hmm. He started doing the toy box.
How did you get that gig, by the way? Either one of you can answer it, the toy box gig.
I think Grandpa, someone told you about it, and then we went to the audition in California.
Someone mentioned it to me, and they said they'd like to give Noah a tryout. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, we were with Ellen. We were shooting a commercial for Liberty Mutual with Ellen. That was on the Ellen Show, and so we're in the lot back, and we had an appointment for him to be interviewed for the toy box, and which was right below our hotel where we're staying at Universal Park, and but the shoot ran way late, and I called these people, and they said, "Oh no, anytime you can make it, just come. We want to meet Noah." So I said, "Okay."
This is the toy box crew.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we finally we got the shoot done and stuff, and it was like about 7, 8 o'clock at night. I think we got to this place.
And what'd you have to do for that audition for the toy box? Because you mentioned you had to do an audition. What did you do?
I just played with some toys and talked about them afterwards. And
Yeah.
Were you always amazed though, as Grandpa Jack, right? Here's a 5 and 6-year-old who was so just on the ball. Like, where does that come from?
Well, when he's small, I always used to read to him. He was a baby. I used to have him in my lap. I'd read books to him. And his mother was a big reader, and she read books to him. And, and he was never with really any kids. He was always around either me and my wife, his grandmother, and me, or his mom, and maybe his aunts and uncles, Yeah. But he was never around really kids.
So he was like a 5-year-old in a 45-year-old's body.
Right. A lot of people said he had a old soul.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting thing, you talk about all the reading. You read a lot of dinosaur books, didn't you? You were a huge dinosaur fan. Do you still have a lot of them memorized? Like, what was your favorite dinosaur I remember as a kid?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Okay. I remember because you did a clip on the Ellen Show and you went to like one of those sort of, it looked like Jurassic Park kind of a thing, and you knew every dinosaur by name, their parts, everything. It was crazy. And a lot of that, do you think it stems from your relationship with your grandfather and the constant reading that you did as a kid?
And we used to go to the Philadelphia Zoo and History Museum down there all the time. We went right. We had a year pass to the museum and the zoo down in Philly, and we used to go because he lived in Philly when he was smaller, and so we used to go to the museum a lot down there, the History Museum.
Wow.
And remember that reptile park we always go to?
Oh yeah, that's out by Williamsport there, out there.
Okay. Reptile Land. There we go.
Yeah,
Somebody in the audience said it. No, that's
Reptile.
super cool. I guess for you guys, like if they, I mean, you guys best buddies, right? Noah, talk to me now though, as a 14-year-old. What fills up a lot of your time? Is it football camp? Walk me through it. For somebody now who maybe doesn't have to zip off to LA, every so many months. Talk to me about life. Do you like this sense of normalcy where you're not maybe traveling as much? Walk me through that.
I usually, during the school week, I usually just like go to school, go to practice, take care of my dogs when I get home. During the summer, I spend more time. Either I walk around my neighborhood, I go play basketball. I'm mostly taking care of my dogs.
And you have 2 dogs?
3 dogs.
Three
We
dogs.
got a brand new puppy like 2 months ago.
And what are your dogs' names?
Finnegan is the oldest one. Ginger is the second youngest. And Stout is the new one. And they're all Bernese Mountain Dogs. My mom's obsessed with them.
That's pretty cool. Now, are you an only child?
Mm-hmm.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Except
we
for
had
the
that
3
data.
dogs.
Except for the 3 dogs. So before we wrap this up, is there any final things you want to add? Just interesting things about the update. Like, where is the apparently kid now? I mean, you're 14. You're playing football. You're getting ready for another year at school. You're going to be what this year?
15.
15. But I mean, what grade?
9th.
9th grade. Freshman.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. And do people still in school call you the apparently kid, or do things still like come up from your past on the Ellen Show and everything else?
Every now and then, yeah, someone will be, or one of my friends will be like, "Hey, it's the apparently kid."
Yeah.
And that's pretty funny.
And let me ask you this though, with your friends, I'm sure you might have had some friends who've, been your pals for a long time. Were they always like cool about it?
Mm-hmm.
Treat you the same? They would be like, Noah, go clean that up. They didn't care that you were on the Ellen Show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Grandpa Jack, anything you want to add just about, I mean, this journey? What a journey, right? Something I can't even imagine as a grandfather, right? To see your 5 or 6-year-old grandson all of a sudden catapulted into stardom.
One of the best retirements a guy could have.
Yeah, because you were getting ready to retire. So you retire and then boom, this is like your other job, taking Noah everywhere.
Right. It was great. We had a good time. It was about he's my only grandkid, so we spent a lot of time together, and it was great.
And what were some of the wow factors, I guess, because you learned a lot during this journey about show business in general.
Yeah.
Did you get good at reading contracts or?
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. But you got to watch out. You should have, if anybody else is doing it, they should probably hire someone and,
But you don't feel like the entertainment screwed you guys.
No,
the entertainment
We
business.
had a great time. We were always taken care of.
Ellen was good to us. She was,
And all the other companies, we'd always have good hotels. Especially that one in Wisconsin. That was basically an apartment.
Oh, well, that was like Johnson and Johnson in Racine, Wisconsin. They make the Glad bags
And you guys did something there?
Yeah, the owner, his name is Johnson. He was like the 4th generation. We went up to his and they toured his plants and stuff in his main office. That was great. He had a plane up in his in the office building. It was a plane that he flew in with his great-great-grandfather in South America or something. And they had it up in the ceiling, and it gets lowered down by cables, but it hasn't been lowered down. He had to call in extra staff to find out how to get it down, just so him and Noah could sit in it.
And they still couldn't get it down.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was.
You really got the royal treatment everywhere you went.
Everywhere
It
you
was
went, we
awesome.
did.
Did you know at the time that you were like VIP, or does it hit you now that you're like, man, people really hooked me up?
Yeah, because I was going into like areas that I know most people like haven't been to. Like we got like that whole factory tour. That was awesome. We got like the backstage pass to see everything.
And Walking with the Dinosaurs at the L.A.
I
Coliseum.
remember that. Anything you guys are hoping for that you both want to tackle together in like the coming year that you're like, let's take this trip, let's do this?
I'm hoping I can get back out to California, do some gigs, do some commercials, TV, whatever I can find.
What do you think, Grandpa Jack? Anything you and your best buddy want to tackle in the year to come?
Whatever comes along, we'll tackle anything.
Now, I know Noah mentioned, when you're in show business, right, sometimes people can make a decent amount of money pretty quick. And his mother was adamant, save your cash.
Oh, yeah. Everything he earned, we put away for him, his first college and stuff. So.
And I was going to say, I'm sure a lot of people would wonder, you don't have to get, did you save enough out of all these gigs that you could pay for your college now?
Just about,
I'd hope so.
The way college goes up, you never know,
Yeah, but I think you did it smart, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people might hit stardom, right, really early, really young. They go into the entertainment industry. He was 5 or 6. He starts making bank off it, and it's probably easy to spend that, but you guys were adamant.
Yeah.
You, Grandpa Jack, and then your daughter, Noah's mom, said, you're going to save all this money.
Right, yeah. You have to, because you never know how long it's lasts. We thought it was just going to be, a whim,
Yeah.
And like I said, she signed him for a year contract, and she had a second-year option. So we didn't even know we were going to get the second year or not,
It was sort of if they liked his gig, they'll bring him back.
Right, and so that's what they did. But then right coming at the end of the second year, like we were still going with strong, but Ellen, but this toy box came along. And, well, if Toys R Us didn't go out of business, that was a 6-year gig. He would have had that for 6 years, But it was a 6-year contract. But then after 3 years, Toys R Us closed up.
Right. If you've been on obviously these different shows, is there one show you said, man, I would love to do that, even now as a 14-year-old? What's one thing you'd want to dive into, or is it just building your YouTube channel?
I'd probably love to do Ellen again because that was always a fun experience. I never knew how I was gonna meet, either walking off the stage or walking around backstage. I got to meet Ariana Grande when she was still on Nickelodeon. I remember watching her.
I have to say, though, by the way, Grandpa Jack is still like one of the coolest guys I know because he walks into our office today. He's like, hey, I was on TikTok the other day. TikTok. I can't even teach my mom how to get on like Facebook or Instagram. And here's Grandpa. Do you ever catch him and you're like, hey, Grandpa Jack, what are you doing on TikTok?
Every now and then, yeah. If we're not working out in the yard, if we're not going to watch a movie or something like that.
You catch him on social media? Mm-hmm. I'm amazed. Are you amazed, though, Grandpa Jack, at how things have just blown up with how people become famous now, online?
Yeah.
Because granted, I want to say back in the day, this is a number of years ago, right? When you went viral on YouTube 5 or 6 years ago as the Apparently Kid, right? I don't think TikTok was even.
No, TikTok
right.
wasn't even.
I don't even think it was around.
That was what, 9 years ago.
Yeah, but now, are you amazed at how people are not only earning a living but becoming uber famous just from social media?
Right. Yeah.
What do you think about all that, Noah?
I think it's crazy. I feel like if I became famous in the modern era, if the Apparently Kid video that just coming out maybe a week ago, I feel like it could have gone higher than what it did.
Do you ever listen to the remixes people make out of your voices in the Apparently Kid and the hip hop songs?
I remember the first one. It was they did this series. I forgot what their name was, but they just songify this, and I remember listening to it and I thought it was great. And they emailed me a couple months ago asking if I could come on the channel and do something with them. And I honestly thought that was great because looking back on it, that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Because I was in a second viral YouTube video getting my voice remixed into an auto-tune song.
And have you seen some of those remixes?
Yeah.
What do you think about those?
They were good. It's funny. And it's amazing how, like I said, Facebook and stuff was just, and YouTube, that was just starting out and I mean, that's what made him, famous. It was but now it's real. Everybody there. Like I said, there's so many TikTok, just that. I mean, it's crazy.
At least you call it the TikTok. I have relatives in my family. They call it the Tic Tac.
TikTok.
So I guess the other thing you mentioned about famous, right? At what point did you know, oh my gosh, my grandson Noah Ritter, the Apparently Kid, is now famous? What was your aha moment? Was it the Ellen Show? Was it you were in the grocery store and people recognized him?
It was like when you were out and everybody knows him, Like even when we were flying, we'd be flying and like, or even when we were at like Disneyland or Universal, there were so many people from different countries that knew him, you know, and I was amazed at that. I mean, we were in Universal, and there was these kids from Australia. They were in the United States. They just got there that day, and they go to Universal, and we were in line with them, and they noticed him, and they come all over to talk, and they go, "Oh my God, we're in the United States one day, and we get to meet somebody famous." You know, it was like, wow. You know?
Is that when it hit you? Were like,
Yeah.
holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
And Noah, what would you do when you would sign autographs? Would you write a message to people? Like, did you sign autographs when you were 5 or 6? Did you know what that was at the time?
Yeah, I just signed my name and talked to him for a little bit. I remember since that happened, Grandma made me start learning cursive immediately.
Oh, so you didn't know cursive at the
Yeah,
time?
no.
There
No,
we go.
I
There's
just
the
print-
inside too.
I just print my name and
he was 5 years old. He could only print Noah, you know, and because we were teaching him how to print and everything before school and all. And but then my wife started teaching him cursive because you know, you got to have a signature. Everybody wants your autograph, you know. So that was pretty neat.
I think I'll leave you with this. I think what is so impressive that you guys do from this journey that started when Noah was 5 or 6, you know, many years ago now, you haven't forgot your roots and where all this began. The
yeah.
Wayne County Fair, the time you were interviewed, went on the news, then goes on YouTube, becomes this viral hit. Why is that still so important for you to go back to the Wayne County Fair, show your face, Noah, but also say hi to everybody?
because it just feels right, you know, talking to everyone that was there. Because without the Wayne County Fair, I wouldn't be famous. I wouldn't have gone on the Ellen Show.
Yeah, but like I say, Roger Darlem, he's the president of the Fair Association. He's been up there, the president for years, and he calls me every year and make sure I'm coming up, you know. So we go up, and a lot. You wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of people there that know him still to this day when we go.
Maybe even young kids who've like grown up with the Apparently Kid.
Yeah.
Right, and then they're like, "There he is." Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap this up? I mean, it is so cool to get your update. 14, going on 15. Noah Ritter, the Apparently Kid's going to be a freshman in high school. Do you think, by the way, you're going to be cool when you're 50 or 60 and people are still calling you the Apparently Kid?
I'd honestly hope so. 'Cause 50 or 60, me being 50 or 60, that's a long time coming. So I'm praying to God I'm that famous when I'm 50 and 60.
All right.
Yeah, he's got 84,000 followers on his YouTube channel. Hopefully he'll get 100,000 shortly.
Yeah, hopefully we can contribute to that. But I think the big thing is, I mean, Noah, you're a rock star, but Grandpa Jack, I mean, America got to know Grandpa Jack too. So I'm sure he's helping with those YouTube numbers, right?
I don't know. I'll tell you, there's a lot of comments like when we see a movie and he does a review, and somebody mentioned it not too long ago in one of the comments where it's great because you get an old person's view and a younger person's view of the movie.
So check it out. Your YouTube channel again is what, Noah?
The Apparently Kid at YouTube.com.
All right. And Grandpa Jack, I mean, you're still killing it on the YouTube. I have to say as well, I feel like even though maybe you don't see it, show business is in your blood. Because I remember the first time I ever interviewed you 8 years ago, and I'm like, this guy just gets it. So maybe it like runs in the family, and that's where Noah got it.
I don't know, but it's been a good ride.
It's been a good ride.
Yep.
And Noah, your ride is still going strong, brother. So it's not over. Everybody, thanks so much. Grandpa Jack and the one and only Noah Ritter, the Apparently Kid. Thanks for joining us for the Life Update.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for being a part of the Ryan Leckey Show. I'll see you next time.